Question 1. Use your calculator to work this out. To do that, you need to do the square root of 7056, press the divide button, and then the bottom needs to be in brackets. You get 18.75. Write your answer to part A correct to one significant figure. One significant figure, the first significant figure is in the tens column, so you need to write it to the nearest 10. So the answer is 20. Pavel and Katie share some sweets in the ratio 3 to 8. Katie gets 32 sweets. So if she gets 32 sweets, then 8 times 4 is 32. So we need to do 3 times 4, which is 12 for Pavel. Katie also has a tin of chocolates. There are 80 chocolates in the tin. 45% of the chocolates have toffee in the middle. Work out the number of chocolates that have toffee in the middle. So to find 45% of something, we multiply by 0.45 on your calculator, which gives us 36. Question 3. Bill has some counters in a bag. 3 reds, 7 blues, the rest are yellow. The probability of getting a yellow counter is 2/7. Now we can see because this is out of 7, we've already got 10 counters here. So this must have been cancelled down. So that could have been 4 out of 14, which would mean 4 yellows out of 14 altogether. Here there are 10 counters with an additional 4, means that this that would be 14 altogether. So we're absolutely spot on there. There should be 4 yellow counters. Question 4, on the centimetre grid below, draw the side elevation. You can see that's coming from this side. So from here, we've got a 5x2 rectangle there, and above it, this 3x5 rectangle. So 5x2 here, and straight above it is this 3x5 one for there. Question 5, Ben goes on holiday to Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, Ben sees a camera costing $3,179.55 in Hong Kong dollars. And in London, the same camera is £285. This is the exchange rate. If he gets it in Hong Kong, how much cheaper was it than in London? Well, since there are $12.30 for every pound, if we divide that by $12.30, we get $258.50. And the difference in the prices, if we take those away from each other, we get $26.50. It was cheaper by $26.50 in Hong Kong. Question 6. For this type of question, I would always write it down in a two-way table. So we're talking about men and women going to college to study French, Spanish and German. 130 adults altogether. 96 of the adults are women. 12 of the women study French. 73 of the adults study Spanish. 55 of the women study Spanish. And 9 of the men study German. So these ones in circles are the information from the question. We can then say that there are 34 men altogether, taking these two away from each other. We can then say that there are 18 men did Spanish, taking these two away from each other. 18 add 9 is 27, leaving 7 men that did French. And then 12 add 7 is 19, so the answer would be 19. There'll be a mark for each of these numbers. Question 7. Plants are sold in different sized trays. A small tray with 30, 40 in a medium and 50 in the large tray. The best way to find the best value for money for this one is to divide the price by how many plants there are in the tray to get the cost per plant. So 650 divided by 30 is 21 pence and then 0.6 of a penny. That one will be 22 pence and a little bit per plant. This one will be 21 pence and 0.9 of a penny per plant. So you can see that this one is the cheapest one. So it's better value for money to get the smaller tray. Question 8. Find, in terms of n, an expression for the nth term of this sequence. Well, it's going up by 7 each time, so it must be 7n. If it was the 7 times tables, and the first number should be 7, ours is 3, so we need to subtract 4 from that. 7 and take 4. Is 150 a term in this sequence? Well, to do that, we put the nth term rule equal to 150, and then we solve that for n. If we get an integer value of n, then it will be part of that sequence. If we get a decimal, then it won't. But if we add 4 to both sides and then divide by 7, we get 22. So yes, it is in the sequence. It's the 22nd term. If it was 22.35, for example, it wouldn't be in the sequence. Question 9. Work out the size of the angle marked A. The key here is that we know that angles in a full circle add up to 360. So I've labelled this angle X on the inside here. And there's 4 lots of 25 there. So if we do 360, take away 4 lots of 25, and divide it by 4, we get that these angles here that I've called X are 65 each. Because these are rhombuses, then if that's 65, opposite angles are also equal, so that's 65. So 65 add 65 is 130, and we know that angles in a quadrilateral add up to 360, so take that off 360. means that these two must add up to 230. Divide by 2 gives us that A must be 115. You'll notice it doesn't ask for reasons here, so I've not put any reasons. Question 10. Sasha takes a music exam. The table shows the percentages for the pass rates. She gets 62 out of 80. What result should she get? Well, 62 divided by 80 times 100 will convert it to a percentage, which is 77.5, which we can see is a merit. Simplify x to the 7 times x to the 3 will give us x to the 10. M to the 4 cubed means m to the 4 times m to the 4 times n to the 4. So that'll be m to the 12. Now this was a bit of a nasty one for simplifying. 36 divided by 12 is 3. A divided by a to the 5 will leave a to the 4 on the bottom. And f to the 8 divided by f squared will leave f to the 6 on the top. Now I've written that as 3 a to the minus 4. That means that it should be divided by and f to the 6, although that would be a perfectly fine answer. Question 12. A circle has a diameter of 140 centimetres. Work out the circumference. Well, circumference of a circle is pi times diameter, so pi times 140 gives us all of that. Centimetres, and to 3 significant figures, that would be 440, because the 8 rounds the 9 up to make the 3940. Question 13. Axel and Lethner are driving along a motorway and they see this sign. The speed limit for the motorway is 70 miles an hour. Lethner says that we'll have to drive faster than the speed limit to cover 30 miles in 26 minutes. Is she right? Well, we know that speed equals distance divided by time. So we do 30 divided by 26, which means that'll be 1.15 miles per minute. We then need to times that by 60 to get into miles per hour. So that'd be 69.23 miles per hour. So that's obviously less than 70. So no, she's wrong. Question 14. The table gives the values about the temperature at noon in a town for 50 days. Right on the modal class. So the modal class is the one with the most in. So the one with the most in is 21. So the class is 20 to 24. Calculate an estimate for the mean temperature. To do that, we need the midpoint of each of these. So the midpoint is 10, 14, 18, 22 and 26 for each of these. And times that by the frequency, which will give us all these, which will add up to 920. And divide it by how many days we did it over. So divide it by 50. So 920 divided by 50 is 18.4. We know that's a sensible answer because it's somewhere between 8 and 28. Part C, draw a frequency polygon for this table. Well, for that, we do the midpoint plotted with the frequency. So we need to plot 10, 6, 14, 8, 18, 13, 22, 21, 26, 2. So all these points plotted. The thing to be careful over is that every two small squares going up represents 1. So to get to 10, 6, you need to go 2 little squares above the 5. Make sure each of these points are in the correct place and join them up with a ruler. Question 15. Here's a right angled triangle. Work out the length of AC. Well, I've called AC x just to make it a bit simpler. So x squared equals 39 squared plus 70 squared using Pythagoras' theorem. So x will be the square root of this, which is 80.13. And it says to one decimal place, that'll be 80.1. Question 16. Solve this. The best thing to do here is to expand the brackets first. So 5 times f is 5f and 5 times 3 is minus 15 equals f plus 10. Then subtract the smallest amount of the letters off each side. So in this case, take 1f off both sides. We get 4f minus 15 equals 10. Add 15 to both sides, we get 4f equals 25. Divide by 4, f will be 6.25. Don't panic if on a calculator paper you get an answer like that. You can use your calculator to finish that last bit off. Solve this equation. The best way to go about this is to multiply everything by 6. I've chosen 6 because that will mean all the fractions then cancel out. So I times that by 6. 6 divided by the 3 is 2, so I just need to times the top by 2. Times this by 6, cancelling the dividing by 2 out there, I just need to times the top by 3. And times this by 6, I just cancel the bottom out altogether, which is 5. Expand these brackets and simplify it together. I get 8h plus 11 equals 5. Take 11 off both sides, I get 8h equals minus 6. Divide by 8, h equals minus 6 over 8, which is a perfectly fine answer. But you can write that as minus 0.75. Question 17. Complete the table of values and plot the graph on the grid. So again, you can use a calculator. Minus 3 cubed, take away 4 lots of minus 3. Use a minus 15. When x is minus 2, you get 0, minus 3 and 0. If we plot all of these points very carefully and accurately using the crosses, and then using a curve, go through all these points as accurately as you can. Do not sketch your way through them. Try and do it as smoothly as you can with your pencil. Question 18. ABC is an isosceles triangle. Work out the area of the triangle. Well, to work out the area of a triangle, we need the height. So what I've done is I've split it down the middle, there, because it's isosceles. And this triangle here will be 6 across the bottom. And we have an angle of 54 here. And the height here is the opposite. So I've got the opposite and the adjacent. So I'm going to do tan 54 equals the opposite, which is h, divided by 6, which is the base of this half of the triangle. So the height, rearranging that, would be 8.25. And then to work out the area of a triangle, you do the base times the height divided by 2. So the base is 8.25. Sorry, the height is 8.25 times by the base, which is 12. Notice you've got to use the full base here and divide it by 2, which will give you 49.5 to 3 significant figures. Question 19. Write 7.8 times 10 to the minus 4 as an ordinary number. Well, you need to move that decimal place down 4 places. So you'll get this. Write this in standard form. Well, standard form must be a number between 1 and 10. So it'll be 9.56 times 10 to the power of. And then counting back, that goes back 7 places to get to there. So it's 10 to the 7. In a sale, normal prices are reduced by 20%. A washing machine has a sale price of £464. By how much, that's very important, is the normal price of the washing machine reduced? Well, if we knew the normal price, which we don't, we'll call that X, you will times that by 0.8 to knock off 20%. And that will give you an answer of 464. To work out X, we divide both sides by 0.8. So we get 464 divided by 0.8 is 580. So the original price was 580. Now it asks for the difference in those. So we take those two away from each other, we get £116. Question 21. Factorise 4x squared minus 9. Now you'll notice that minus 9 is a negative square number. So this is a case where we can get the perfect square here. So if we'll need 2x and 2x in both of these to get the 4x squared, and a plus 3 and a minus 3 to get minus 9. Because these are the opposites of each other, the x's in the middle of this quadratic will cancel out. So that is what it should go to. Make m the subject of this. You'll notice that m is on both sides. So the first thing to do is to take the minus 3m over, it comes plus 3m. I've taken the 5 over, it comes minus 5. I am then going to factorise the right hand side by taking the m out. So m brackets a plus 3 is this side factorised. I can then divide both sides by a plus 3 to get m on its own. So g minus 5 over a plus 3. Question 22. The diagram shows a trapezium with its lengths in algebra. All the measurements are in centimetres and the area of a trapezium is 351. Show that 2x squared plus x minus 351 equals 0. Well, to work out the area of a trapezium, we do the top, add the bottom and half it and multiply it by the height. So the top, add the bottom and half it, multiply by the height. Instead of halving it, I have cancelled the times by 2 and the divide by 2 out with each other. So you'll see that we'll get x minus 4 plus x plus 5. Simplified together gives us 2x plus 1 and just multiply that by x, which will give us, and that's equal to 351. That will give us 2x squared plus x equals 351. If we take that on the other side, we get 2x squared plus x minus 351 equals 0, which is what we've been asked to show. Work out the value of x. Well, for this one, because the numbers are quite difficult, I'm going to use the formula, which is on the front of your exam paper. So b is the number in front of the x's, so in this case 1. A is the number in front of the x squared, so in this case 2, and c is the number on the end, in this case minus 351. So minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Substituting that in and figuring out the bit underneath the square root, we get 2,809. So for our two answers, we need to do minus 1 plus the square root of 2809 divided by 4, and then minus that as well. Now we get an answer of 13 or minus 13.5. Because this is a trapezium, we obviously can't have a negative value for x, so the answer is just 13. Question 23. The table shows information about 1,065 students. Alina takes a stratified sample of 120 students by year group and by gender. work out the number of Year 8 females. So the Year 8 females is 134 of them out of the 1,065 students altogether. And she wants 120 altogether. So you do 134 divided by 1,065 times 120, which gives you this. Obviously, you can't have 0.098 of a student, so the answer is just 15. Question 24. The diagram shows a large tin of pet food in a cylindrical shape. This one measures 6.5 by 11.5, and they want to change it so that it has the same volume, but the radius is only 5.8. What must the height be? Well, to work out the volume of this one, we do pi times 6.5 squared, which is the area of the circle, times by the height, 11.5. And to get the volume of the new tin, we do pi times the radius squared, so 5.8 squared, times the height, which is what we're trying to find out. And to keep the volume the same, we can put these equal to each other. If we work these two out, we get these. And if you divide that by that, we'll get the height, taking that on that side. So the height will be 14.443. It says correct to one decimal place is 14.4. Question 25. A and B are straight lines. Line A has this equation and line B goes through these 2 points. Do lines A and B intersect? The key thing here is to realise that if two lines have different gradients, then they will cross at some point. So we just need to show that both lines have different gradients. If I divide the first one through by 2, I get y equals 1.5x plus 4. That means the gradient of the first line is 1.5. For line B, if we do the difference in y divided by the difference in x, we do 8 take away 2, which is 6, and 2 take away minus 1 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So it must have a gradient of 2. Now at this point I worked out c as well. So c would be 4 by substituting those points in. So the equation of the line is 2x plus 4, but you didn't need to do that. So all we need to say is, yes, the gradients are different, so they will cross. Line A is a gradient of 1.5 and line B is a gradient of 2. Question 26. The diagram shows triangle LMN. Work out the length of LN. Now for this we're going to use the sine rule, but you'll notice LN, which is this side here, doesn't have its opposite angle. So we need to get to that first. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a sine rule with this pair and this pair to work out this angle, and then use angles in a triangle. So I'm going to do sin L, so that's that angle, divided by its opposite side, 12.8, equals sin 136 divided by its opposite side, 15.7. If we rearrange that, we get sin to the minus 1 of 12.8 times sin 136 over 15.7, which gives us that angle there is 34.495. If we take that and the 136 off 180, we get that this angle here, M, is 9.54210148. I would leave that in your calculator again, so we can use it in this next bit, because we can now use the sine rule again with this pair, with this pair that we just worked out and the original pair that we had. So Ln, which is the side that we're after, with its opposite angle, sin 9.504, which we just worked out, equals 15.7 divided by sin 136. Rearrange that and take that up the other side. We get Ln equals this. If you put it in your calculator, you get 3.73. Question 27. The histogram shows information about the times in minutes that some passengers had to wait at an airport. Work out the percentage of the passengers who had to wait for more than an hour. Well, the thing to remember with a histogram is that the area of the bar tells you how many people there are. So this is 20 wide by 12 tall. So 20 times 12 is 240. 10 wide by 10.8 tall is 108. 15 wide by 7 tall is 105. 15 by 5 is 75. 30 by 1.8 is 54. And 30 by 0.6 is 18. The people that waited more than an hour, which is more than 60 minutes, is this 54 at 18. So there were 72 people waited more than an hour. And in total, there were 600 people if we add all these up. So 72 divided by 600 times 100 to convert it to percentage is 12%. Do not forget the percentage sign, otherwise you would lose a mark. Final question. AOC and BOD are diameters of a circle O, with a centre at O. Prove that ABD and DCA are congruent. Now, there are lots of ways of doing this one. I've chosen to prove that it's an angle side angle triangle. That means I need to prove that they have two angles the same and a side the same. Well, AD is a common side to both of them, so they both share that side, so that's the side sorted. Angle BAD, so BAD, and also angle CDA are both 90 degrees, so they're both equal to each other, because angles in a semicircle are 90 degrees. You must have that reason there. Angle ABO, so ABO, and angle DCO are equal again, because angles in the same segment are equal. It doesn't matter how big they are, we just know that they're equal. So if that side's the same, these two angles are equal, and these two angles are equal, they must be congruent as they are angle side angle triangles.